can you eat and then leave the offering? It's easy for your Krishna. Om Purnamadak Purnam Idam Purnat Purnam Udachyate Purnasya So he's complete. He can eat and leave it at the same time. So and therefore it's sanctified. It's the taste of Krishna's saliva. Prabhupada describes. So that was a nice verse. Now the rest of you. Essence of Bhagavad Gita sloka. Yes.
Sarvadharman parityajya mamekam sharanam vraja aham tvam sarva papebhyo mokshayishyami ma sruja.
Translation.
Leave all varieties of religion and surrender unto me. I will take care of you.
Relieve you from all sinful reactions.
Yeah.
Do not fear.
Do not fear.
It's such a nice verse that in Sri Vaishnavism they accept that's the essence of Bhagavad Gita, and there's a similar verse in Ramayana that they compare the two verses. And the Ramayana verse is when Vibhishan surrenders, and then there's this, should we accept him or should we not accept him? Because Krishna's, he's acting as a king in this case. So he consults his ministers or his advisors. He doesn't need someone's advice, but he asks. And this one says this, and that one says that, and Hanuman is silent. Hanuman is asked, and Hanuman says, you've already accepted him. There's no discussion. It's your nature. Someone surrenders to you, and then Lord Ramachandra speaks. Yes. Even once. So the Sri Vaishnavas compare the statement that he makes to Vibhishan as the same as the statement that Krishna makes to Arjuna. It's a step towards Krishna, and Krishna accepts the step. And not just accepts, he delivers. Essence of the whole Bhagavad Gita, essence of the whole Ramayana, and that is to say, an essence verse is, if one has uncertainty about any of the other 699 verses of Bhagavad Gita, or all the other number of verses of Ramayana, it has to align with that. Paribhasa Sutra is a Sanskrit phrase. The essence that everything else must align with. If you have trouble understanding something, understand this one verse, and then you can understand the other verses in context. We could spend time just discussing 1866. That's a nice verse. But I want to stimulate your thoughtfulness. So, another verse, please. That the topic is the essence, something that expresses the essence of the entire Bhagavad Gita. What's a verse? Yes. Okay, your voice isn't strong. People are straining to hear you. You got a little microphone.
I like the 10.9 verse.
10.9.
Macchitta madgada prana bodhayanta parasparam katayantascha mam nityam tushyanti cha ramanti cha.
Good. And the meaning essentially?
Essentially is that Krishna's devotees enjoy glorifying his names and pastimes, and such devotees are in Krishna's thoughts always.
Nice. That's in essence. So others, especially our guests that aren't, our temple devotees, that know because you have Bhagavad Gita class every day. Someone else. I'll give some hints. Here's a hint. A verse that Prabhupada would refer to regularly and say that this is the essence is there are 4 things that Krishna asks for. Pratijani prayosime. Pratijani prayosime. And the essence, Manmana, always think of me. Bhava mad bhakto, become my devotee. Mad yaji, worship me. Mam namaskuru. And Prabhupada would, right after saying those, he'd say them again and say, it's so simple. And that's the essence, it's simple. Simple for the simple, difficult for those that are crooked. Because it's simple. We're going to think of something, so think of Krishna. And we're going to do some service for someone, serve Krishna, become my devotee. Because bhakti, becoming a devotee of Krishna, means during serving Krishna with love. Bhava mad bhakto mad yaji. People worship whoever, a movie star or a sports hero or a political figure or a something or something or something, a scholar or something. So, worship Krishna. That the propensities based upon the supreme source of everything. Mam namaskuru. Offer obeisances. So all those things, they take some humility, which leads us to another essence verse. And I think I'm going to... chapter 13, verses 8 through 12. Amanitvam, adambitvam. It starts with humility and pridelessness. So, the essence of Bhagavad Gita is bhakti, and there are paths of yoga that they become yoga when mixed at least some tinge, some touch of bhakti. And without the touch of bhakti, it's just karma or jnana or contemplation, but it's not dhyan yoga. It becomes, the word yoga applies because of at least some touch, some trace, some element of bhakti. So similarly, in Bhagavad Gita, there's a principle that leads to bhakti. It's a precursor to bhakti. It's not the essence of bhakti, but it leads to bhakti. And that's Sankhya. In 3 places, to emphasize its importance, in 3 places Krishna speaks about specifically, explicitly, he speaks about Sankhya. And Sankhya, it's simple. Sankhya means to count. And Sankhya, its application of counting is, there's categories of matter, there's categories of spirit. We belong to the category of matter. We're not the body. Chapter 2 of Bhagavad Gita. And halfway through chapter 2 of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna announces, thus far I've discussed Sankhya. And now, I'm going to discuss Buddhi. That means how you live your life with the understanding that you're not the body. Buddhi, takes intelligence to guide that understanding and live accordingly. Buddhi. Buddhi can be used almost interchangeably with bhakti because they have to be, to engage in service to the Supreme, there has to be proper understanding, proper knowledge, proper intelligence, proper guidance, proper steering mechanism for the body and the mind. Intelligence must be there, guiding the activities of body and mind, which is bhakti. That's chapter 2. Then, again, in divisions of 6, 6, and 6, the 18 chapters of Bhagavad Gita, in the next set of 6, in chapter 7, Krishna speaks Sankhya philosophy again, but a little more detail. For example, Krishna speaks of the Bina Prakritir Ashtada, the 8 separated energies, and says the living entity is different. There's matter and there's spirit, and we belong to the category of spirit. The Para Prakriti, the superior energy, is the living entity. And there's the Appara, or inferior energy, consisting of 8 divisions. And then some further description, Sankhya-like descriptions. But the principle is the same. And then the next 6 begins with chapter 13. Right? 1 through 6, 7 through 12, 13 through 18. So it's divisions of 3 makes 18. So in the beginning of chapter 18, it's same principle. It's a little more sophisticated, a little more refined, but the same principle. And in the beginning of chapter 13 of Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna asks 6 questions. Matter and spirit, matter and spirit, matter and spirit. Prakriti and Purusha. Prakriti is material nature. And Purusha, the enjoyer of material nature. Prakriti and Purusha. The Kshetra and Kshetragya, field of activities, the knower of the field of activities. Matter and spirit. Jnanam and Gayam, knowledge and the object of knowledge. 6 questions, same Sankhya, pattern, matter and spirit. And we belong to the category of spirit. In stages, it doesn't begin with what's on chapter 13. It begins in chapter 2, simple. And then the simple is embellished, and it's then further embellished. So when it comes to the question of knowledge and the object of knowledge, Krishna is the object of knowledge. And what falls in the category of knowledge? It's very nice. I like it. I like this chapter. So those of you that like to read Bhagavad Gita, you can look it up later. Chapter 13, text 8 through 12. Specifically, Krishna says, these 20 items, this is what constitutes knowledge. Now, why is knowledge important? It's not the knowledge of, information technology or engineering or computer science or, medicine or it's not that kind of knowledge. It's the matter and spirit kind of knowledge. And to have, listen carefully, to have that kind of knowledge, there has to be quality. And the first of those qualities starts with humility, amanitvam. Because if one isn't humble, you're not going to get knowledge. It can hit you in the head and you won't get it. Some professor, some teacher, some wise person, some spiritual master, some incarnation of the personality of Godhead could stand before you and speak transcendental knowledge, you won't go in. If humility is absent, it'll bounce. It's not going to go in. So, humility, amanitvam, adambitvam. I'm going to read a little bit from chapter 13, and you'll see this is one appreciation, there's many, of an essence verse. Of course, the verse itself is long. There's 20 items. Humility, pridelessness. The question that Arjuna has asked is, what is knowledge? He gives this list of 20 things, and then Krishna says, aside from this, it's ignorance, the absence of knowledge. Definitive. It's like it's not quibble. Purport. I'm just going to read 2 paragraphs and then we'll see if there's some discussion. This process of knowledge, because that was the question, what's knowledge and the object of knowledge? Krishna is the object. What's knowledge? This process of knowledge is sometimes misunderstood by less intelligent men as being the interaction of the field of activity. Like kshetra, field of activity. And just this part and that part and the other part, just they mix, and then you get knowledge. Like life comes from matter, kind of an idea. Or knowledge comes from a mixture of the field of activities. But actually this is the real process of knowledge. If one accepts this process, then the possibility of approaching the absolute truth exists. This is not, he says for a second time, the interaction of the 24 elements. The 24 elements, it's in this chapter. There's the 8, and you can do some math and you can come up with, it's just further subdivisions of those 8 makes 24. I can go do the list, but I want to read further. And the process of knowledge described here is the means to get out of it. Of all the descriptions of the process of knowledge, the most important point is described in the first line of the 11th verse, Mai chananya yogena bhaktir avyabhicharini. Means, the process of knowledge terminates in unalloyed devotional service to the Lord. Doesn't have to start there, but if you get on that train, that's where the train's going. If one does not approach or is not able to approach the transcendental service of the Lord, then the other 19 items are of no particular value. So this is an essence principle. Ananya bhakti, undivided devotion. Ananya bhakti, undivided devotion. Unto whom? Mayi, unto Krishna. Mayi cha, ananya yogena. Bhaktir avyabhicharini. It's very, very clear, Sanskrit. Similarly, in the Srimad Bhagavatam 5:18-12, Yasyasti bhaktir bhagavatya kinchana sairvair gaidais tatra samasate sara. All the good qualities of knowledge develop in one who has attained the stage of devotional service. The principle of accepting a spiritual master, as mentioned in the 8th verse, is essential, even for one who takes to devotional service. It is most important. Transcendental life begins when one accepts a bona fide spiritual master. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, clearly states here that the process of knowledge is the actual path. Anything speculated beyond this is nonsense. Nonsense. Prabhupada didn't mess around. You know, when he, there's a little Prabhupada story. Maybe you know. Prabhupada, he was focusing in India on two things. One was his Srimad Bhagavatam translation and commentary, because it was he wanted to have that with him when he came to America, the teachings of Lord Chaitanya, because that was his instruction. Take the teachings of Lord Chaitanya to the English-speaking parts of the world. The teachings of Lord Chaitanya are the Srimad Bhagavatam. Conversely, the Srimad Bhagavatam is the teachings of Lord Chaitanya. So, the teachings of Lord Chaitanya in the form of Canto 1 Srimad Bhagavatam. And when he got to America, he began his manuscript of translation of Bhagavad Gita. Like the train was moving. Something happened. He was living in the Bowery, which means like Skid Row, not at all nice place, not a safe place. And somebody broke into the place where he was staying. It was a loft. And they stole his typewriter and they stole his manuscript. Now what's a thief going to do with a Bhagavad Gita manuscript? Nothing. And what did Prabhupada do? He just started over again. He didn't make a big fuss about it. Because his work was devotion to Krishna, not the fruits of work. Big difference. When the devotees knew, because they were even at that early stage, there were some kind of newer people, and when they saw Prabhupada's response, when he found out someone broke into his place and stole his manuscript, and he wasn't disturbed at all. He just started over again. I mean, to me, that's a big deal, because his life was fulfilling the order of his spiritual master, but it was just service. It wasn't service with an attachment to the fruit. It was just service. He was attached to the service, not to the fruit. So his second iteration is the one that we have, and by the time he was in America, unlike the Bhagavatam, in the Bhagavatam, Canto 1, he had no experience of the audience. He had his ideas of the audience. Here in Bhagavad Gita, he's addressing his audience. It's Krishna's words, and he's conveying Krishna's words. It's not his words, but in a way that the audience can understand Krishna's words. So the emphasis in this first paragraph are these two things. You'll repeat slowly. The question being asked of Krishna by Arjuna is, what is knowledge? And the object of knowledge. The knowledge items, he gives a list of 20. And you look at the list. I'll read the list. And as you hear the list, it's qualities. It's not, it's not 2 + 2 = 4. It's not a algebra or math or science. It's not a trivia. It's not information. It's quality. And that's the symptom of knowledge. So listen as you hear it. This is knowledge. Humility, pridelessness, non-violence, tolerance, simplicity, approaching a bona fide spiritual master, cleanliness, steadiness, self-control, renunciation of the objects of sense gratification, absence of false ego, the perception of the evil of birth, death, old age, and disease, detachment, freedom from entanglement, even amidst pleasant and unpleasant events, even-mindedness, constant and unalloyed devotion to me. So these are qualities. But without qualities, where's the knowledge? Or that starts, so we'll start with humility. Without humility, someone's got beans in their ears. They can't hear. Hello, they don't hear. We've probably all had conversations with people that it's very clear the other person isn't hearing it at all. I mean, something is going to the auditory system, and there's, the eardrum is vibrating, but they're not hearing. We have experience, all of us. So, an essential element is we'll go to the second paragraph. But just go back to the first paragraph. These two things out of the 20 are most important. And then the next paragraph is humility. How is one going to get to Mai Chananya Yogina Bhakti Yavya Bicharini without a spiritual master? It's not going to happen. Supposing one has a spiritual master, if there's no humility, nothing goes in either. It's fundamental. So let's hear what the next paragraph. As for knowledge outlined here, the items may be analyzed as follows. Humility means that one should not be anxious to have the satisfaction of being honored by others. It's worth reading that sentence again. Humility means that one should not be anxious to have the satisfaction of being honored by others. The material conception of life makes us very eager to receive honor from others. Go back to chapter 2. A feature of you're not the body is you're indifferent to duality. Honor and dishonor, pleasure and pain, winter and summer season. Indifferent. You can see what it is, but you don't identify with it. It's not you, doesn't make me happy, that makes me unhappy. The material conception of life makes us very eager to receive honor from others, but from the point of view of a man in perfect knowledge, who knows that he is not the body, anything, honor or dishonor, pertaining to this body is useless. One should not be hankering after this material deception. People are very anxious to be famous for their religion, and consequently sometimes it is found that without understanding the principles of religion, one enters into some group which is not actually following religious principles, and then wants to advertise himself as a religious mentor. As for actual advancement in spiritual science, one should have a test to see how far he is progressing. Then he can judge by these items. So it's like I said, an entry point, the doorway. So you can come into the temple room. There's the doorway. Humility, starting point. And then these others. So it's part of a big picture. And the puzzle pieces to the big picture, just like, the starting point of what I wanted to do was invite you all to be thoughtful about the message of Bhagavad Gita and what's the essence of the message of Bhagavad Gita. So it's easy to remember those verses that were pointed to, and certainly they're very important verses. Let me make one more statement, and then we're going to see if there's discussion. Is there anyone here that's not familiar with who is Lord Chaitanya and needs a little introduction to who is Lord Chaitanya? I think you all know. Because I'm speaking to new audiences, I don't know. So Lord Chaitanya, after accepting sannyas at the request of his mother, He didn't go to Vrindavan. He wanted to go to Vrindavan, but she requested him to go to Puri. And there was a reason. Because the devotees from Bengal would regularly go to Puri to take part in the Rath Yatra. And they would go, she could take some cooked items or prepared items, and he could have some of her food preparations. And then when they came back, she could get word of her son, because she was without husband and now without a son. So like a widow. So go to Puri, please. So he went to Puri. He stayed in Puri only a short while, and then he, on the plea of seeking for his elder brother, Vishwarup, who had also taken sannyas, he wanted to travel through South India. See if he can find needle in a haystack. Where's my brother? In the whole of South India. Good luck. He's omniscient. He knew that his brother had already departed this world, but that's okay. It was an excuse. So as he was traveling and traveling and traveling, one of the things that happened was Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya recommended that he meet the governor of Madras, now Chennai, and he's a great devotee. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya said to Lord Chaitanya, when I met him, I thought he was a sentimentalist because he was a devotee, and he wasn't doing all the high-grade activities that I do. He's just a sentimentalist. But he wasn't at all a sentimentalist. He said, now I understand he's a great devotee, and I would like you to meet him. So they met by transcendental arrangements. They met. When they met, they immediately embraced one another, because the personality of Godhead and a pure devotee of the Lord. They were in ecstasy, just being together. And the Ramananda Roy was a governor, and governor has people, entourage that he travels with. The entourage was going, whoa, what's all this? So Lord Chaitanya controlled himself and said, let us meet in the evening. So they had a private little, twosome. And it's a nice discussion. I recommend, if you want to pick a nice section of the Chaitanya Charitamrita, the discussion between Ramananda Roy and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Because Lord Chaitanya took the role. He's a sannyasi. Ramananda Roy is a governor. He's a military man and a householder, and the young sannyasi is asking the householder, please explain the highest truth that you know and the means to attain it. That's the starting point of their discussion. Whew. The highest truth and the means to attain it. So one of the verses, Ramananda Roy, was a very learned scholar, and he recited verses from Vishnu Purana about observing Varnashram. There's many, and he came to the Bhagavad Gita verse. And Lord Chaitanya said, that's nice, but go further. Like, what's further than Sarvadharmam Parityaja Mam Ekam Sharanam Braj? What's further? Chaitanya Mahaprabhu accepted Ramananda Roy's statement. You might want to look it up. It's Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 14, verse number 8. 10:14:8. And in that verse, 10:14:8, Brahma is speaking. His Brahma's prayers to Krishna. And he speaks. The means to achieve it is you stay in your position, stane statak, shrutikatam tanavan manobir. You should hear the topics of Krishna. From whatever your position is, you don't need to become something. Stay in your position, whatever is your psychophysical nature, do that. And most importantly, engage in the process of hearing, transcendental sound vibration, specifically topics about Krishna. Whatever your position, doesn't matter. Sthanesha takshutigatam tanavan madobir. And by that process, he goes on, that Brahma goes on, that he who is, because he's speaking to Krishna, he's ajita, he's unconquerable, but the unconquerable becomes conquered. He becomes conquered in the sense that bhakti awakens and bhakti attracts Krishna, and Krishna becomes subservient to the bhakti of his bhakta. He likes. He loves more than likes. And so the unconquerable becomes conquered by the awakening of devotion that comes from hearing transcendental messages. Of course, there's a qualitative way that one should hear, and that's, a further point in their discussions. What's the quality by which one should hear transcendental sound? Just like we have kirtan, it's nice, more than nice. It's transcendentally beneficial. All living entities, not even those in human form of life, all living entities, it's naturally transcendentalizing. So broadcast the sound of the holy name, or broadcast the message of Bhagavad Gita, or broadcast the message of Srimad Bhagavatam. And that's the Hare Krishna movement. Stay in your position. If it's one's nature to be a sannyasi, as was Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was sannyasi, fine. If one's nature is to be a government officer, like Ramananda Roy, fine. Whatever is, but enrich your Krishna consciousness by sound, hearing transcendental sound vibration. It doesn't matter your social position, your anything position, your ashram position. And that's a very important message from Lord Chaitanya's discussions. And it relates to what the topic. What's the essence of the Bhagavad Gita? The same. Hear, Shruti-katam, hear the message of Krishna. And from hearing, take shelter of him. By that process of hearing, it's taking shelter. Attentive hearing is taking shelter. This coming weekend, we're going to be having a japa retreat. Yes? And there's going to be focus on hearing. Why? Because all this explanation of the why is because the dormant Krishna consciousness becomes awakened. And the covering of Krishna consciousness becomes cleansed. Taking a spiritual bath through sound. Cleansing the outside and cleansing the inside simultaneously. In a qualitative, very focused way. Okay, I'm looking at our clock that's 3 minutes fast or slow? Slow. Okay, so we have 10 minutes for some discussion. The starting point of the topic was what's the essence of Bhagavad Gita. So we have a little portable microphone, and all you have to do is raise your hand, and someone will bring you the microphone.
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj. So, in this verse, Tani Sita, like you stay in your position,
yes,
and you do the devotion service, but then for us, like who are day in and day out in the material world, interacting with everything, everybody, what we have,
yeah.
I think sometimes it's kind of a challenge to not go, like staying in the position, performing devotion service versus getting a little bit ambitious over here, trying to do things. I guess sometimes I can't find a balance between, am I really doing my job or am I becoming a little ambitious in my job itself, so that's something always I find myself battling with.
Okay. Whether you advance or you don't advance in your career It's not, one is not a qualifier, or the other is not a disqualifier. That's not the litmus test. The litmus test is eagerness to hear. Now, if there's something that's impeding your eagerness to hear, that's to be neglected. Say it the other way. Is it possible? The answer to this question is yes. Is it possible for someone who is strongly career-oriented at the same time to become very, 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 that's three very, strong in their devotion to Krishna? Yes. I'm just thinking, there's many nice devotees. One nice devotee, there's several nice devotees. One nice devotee that I'm thinking of is Madhavananda, who is the director of the Bhaktivedanta Hospital. Now that man is gifted. He didn't become director, and for a couple of decades he's been the director of a hospital. He's a qualified man, and he's not like twiddling his thumbs. He is learning, and he's administering, and he's busy, but he's very Krishna conscious. Very Krishna conscious. And I could name some other names. I don't think I'll do that. Very qualified persons. Very qualified persons. And it's not like the symptom of their becoming a very qualified person is their affinity for excelling in their career is going and going and going. That may happen. If that happens, it's not, you're doing something wrong. But it's not that you're doing something wrong if your affinity for your career is growing and growing. The real test is affinity for hearing. Supposing, we'll go the other direction, supposing someone just like is unhappy with material life, so they start neglecting their career or their, whatever it is, their family or there's, the world. That person is now, if it's not resting upon hearing, they're now vulnerable. They're a sitting duck for some other worldly distraction or another, or 10 of them. It happens. Desisting in worldly affairs, 10 other worldly affairs are going to take their place, unless there's the affinity for hearing, the place of shelter. So then it could take, for you have to introspect. Am I really becoming genuinely attracted to hearing? If so, fine. And if not, not fine. And so what are you supposed to do when you find it's not fine? You go into a mode of goodness place, reflect, introspect, and hit the reset button. And let me continue, whatever my orientation towards career development is, let me not neglect hearing. You're just like, a teenager, only you're a big one.
Hare Krishna, Maharaj. So we discussed the qualities of, one of the qualities of knowledge is approaching a spiritual master.
Yes.
So what are the qualities that one needs to approach a spiritual master?
Very good question. Thank you for the question. Srila Prabhupada spoke hundreds of times on this topic. And, it's from Scripture. His answer would be from Scripture. The inquisitiveness, jigyasu shreya uttama, that's a starting point. Jigyasu, inquisitiveness. Shreya uttama. It's very similar to my response to her question. The medium is the hearing, is sound, but towards what? What's the object that you're hearing about? If the object is material, then that's prayas. And if the object is spiritual, then it's shreyas. And if the object is the supreme, then it's shreya uttama. I'm inquisitive. I want to know, people that want knowledge, because this is knowledge, this is the topic. But material knowledge, you don't want to know like an encyclopedia. I'm just curious about, you name it. And I want to know, and I want to learn and about what? So the jigyasu shreya uttama is a qualification for taking shelter of a spiritual master, because that's what a spiritual master will do. Not just, engineering, or a professor. It's okay if one's an engineering professor at the same time as Krishna conscious, because the engineering or doctor or lawyer or whatever, they're conveying something to their students that's not just information. It's spiritual wisdom. It's just part of the relationship, because that's what's inside. So Shreya Uttama, Jigyasu, it's very important. Everyone without exception is engaged in Prabhupada's example about hearing, reading the newspapers, or checking the media, or, blah, blah, blah. Who done it to whom? All that stuff. We're inquisitive. You want to be. I don't want to be blind. I want to be informed. So, is there a war between Russia and this country, that country? There's a concern. No, it's not like if I don't know that information, then I'm a fool. But if I know that information, and that's all I know, then I'm a fool. So inquisitive in what? Shreya Uttama. And then another qualification is, so who is the person from whom I should inquire? The one who knows. And another characteristic is the rendering of Samat Pani Shrotriyam Brahmanishtam. Samat Pani. It's right from the Upanishads. Manduka Upanishad. Firewood in hand. Samat Pani. It's a very short, cryptic statement. Menial service. That's a qualification of being able to hear. It's just part of this subset of this humility. But humility, how does it? Service. Humble service. We're all serving. Can anyone say there's not serving? No one can say that. You're serving your family, or you're serving your country, or you're serving your senses, or you're serving your dog and cat, or whatever it's service is part of who we are. And so that service mood to the person who has proper knowledge. Then I need to be equipped to know who is that person who has proper knowledge. Shrotriyam Brahmanishtam. It's right in the Shrotriyam. They've heard, the person who has heard. And Brahmanishtam, they're fixed. Brahmanishtam, they're fixed in Brahman, in transcendence. And they're always there. So I can go to that person and they're always there. If I'm lost in La La Land, I can go to that person and they're clear. And I have this mood of service. And I want to know. It's pretty simple. Okay, I'm looking at the clock. The clock says we have 1 minute.
I have one more question.
Yeah?
So,
You have the last question too.
So, is it possible that somebody exists with all these qualities, but is not devoted, but doesn't have unalloyed devotion to the Lord?
What do you think?
I don't know.
Yes, you do. Yeah. So the answer is no. Because proportionate, it's just like, a dimmer switch. There's rocker arm switches, you turn it on or off. It's a 1 or a 0. Then there's some that are, you dial it up and it gets brighter. So is it possible to be fully bright, luminous, and enlightened, and not connected to the powerhouse? No such thing. No such thing. And what is connected with the powerhouse mean? That's the place from which I receive whatever it is that I have, and I acknowledge it and offer to that which, the source from which I received everything, to that source. Nothing sticks. It came from and it goes to. And that's the relationship of loving exchange. Without it, it's not, it's a dream. It's fiction. Okay. I see the prasadam has arrived. And I know what that means. It's time for prasadam. And who's going to be the MC so I know what's next? There's supposed to be. Can you give her the microphone?
Hare Krishna. Big thank you to His Holiness Annaprasann for a wonderful class. Maharaj's time is actually 10 o'clock right now. He came from Houston. So I'm very grateful that Maharaj came this afternoon and was able to give a class this evening. And we have a short ceremony for 2 babies, Annaprasann ceremony that they wanted Maharaj to do. So we can, there's 2 options. We can have Shrine Aartis at 8:30. We can start Prasadam. And we can also do the Annaprasann ceremony now, and then have the darshan and prasad.
You better decide. Don't you do chaos otherwise.
So we do the Annaprasann ceremony now, and and some people can also start starting simultaneously, so that people who have got work and school tomorrow, we don't keep them too long. But so I think we'll just have that set up now for the 2 couples who they'd like to make their way towards Maharaj. Because we don't need the altar for please come. So we have Jyotsna Mataji and Deepak Prabhu with their baby Veda, and they would like to, so they both sponsor today's program. And they're going to have a ceremony for their baby Veda, and then we have Shama Hari Prabhu and Premlata Mataji. Their daughter also is going to have Antraprasann ceremony at the same time. And
They're very animated. You better move on.
and I think we'll go ahead and have the ceremony, but both Premlata Mataji and Shama Hari Prabhu are disciples of Maharaj, and as far as Deepak Prabhu is concerned, he has been to several yatras with Maharaj previously when he was in India, so he also has connection with the Annaprasann. So we'll just go ahead and
Okay.
take care of the Annaprasann ceremony, and then we have Prasadam and Shrine Aarti. Please remember that we have Srimad Bhagavatam classes by Maharaj Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday morning, live at the temple, 7:35 to 8:15. And tomorrow's ASU class in the evening. Thursday also Srimad Bhagavatam class and a home program at Shobha Mataji's home. And then Friday, Saturday and Sunday we have the Japa retreat Maharaj mentioned. It starts Friday evening. I really love the day.
They're both pretty peaceful. I was expecting more noise.
I felt that Devamarta, as young as she is, she likes to listen to the Mahamantra all day. And the minute it's turned off, she cries. We are very fortunate she has a hearing ear for Mahamantra. Veda is a very peaceful little child. Thank you, Maharaj, so much. Big round of applause for both the couples and their children. So once again, we have Srimad Bhagavatam classes at the temple from 7:35 to 8:15 on Wednesday, Thursday and Friday morning, and it's also going to be live streamed on YouTube. So you're welcome to, if you are working and or cannot make it to the temple, you can listen from wherever you are, from the luxury of your home, car, office, whatever. And so tomorrow evening we have a class at ASU, and on Thursday evening there's a class at, there's a home program at Shobhami Mataji's home. And then Friday evening we start our Japa retreat, and then Saturday's all-day program, and then Sunday's all-day program. Sunday is what we call a 64-day round, and that's when we attempt to chant 64 rounds. In the previous years, we've had even children chant 64 plus rounds, and newcomers who have never even picked up a bead, they also are able to chant 64 rounds. And if you're already chanting, it will help you improve your chanting. And if you've never chanted before, it's a good time to start chanting, learn about chanting. So that's Friday evening, all day Saturday and all day Sunday. Dinner is provided on Friday evening. Breakfast, lunch and dinner are provided on Saturday and Sunday. So you don't have to worry about cooking. You can concentrate on chanting, which is what we are meant to do in this age of Kali, and which has become a golden age with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu bringing the japa to us. So please join us. The schedules are on the Facebook page, on our website and on the WhatsApp groups. There's a small adjustment. There's a home program on Monday as well. And that's at Trivikrama Prabhu and Leelavati Mataji's home. And it's going to be at about 7 o'clock in the evening. So please join us. And there'll be prasadam after the class. And if you can RSVP to the host, it will be easier for them to prepare for prasadam. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Stop it now.